Hello, Internet. My name is Tyler Cutterback. I am the founder of Let's Go to College Educational Consultants and the host of the How Do I Get That Job podcast. This video is a new series that we're going to be doing that is an abbreviated version of the How Do I Get That Job podcast. It's going to be the top 3 to 5 tips, tricks, facts, and just interesting questions and answers from the actual How Do I Get That Job podcast over on just about everything that you listen to podcasts on. It'll be down in the description for you. This is a chance for you to see some of the highlights, and if you like the podcast, then you can go down into the description and listen to the full thing for yourself. You'll notice in this video that there really isn't a video portion of it. That's because this was the very first podcast that I ever did. I was trying to record it on Google Hangouts using OBS, Open Broadcast Software, and I just didn't know what I was doing. And unfortunately, the podcast did not record the video portion of it, but you can still listen to the audio, and I think this will be a nicer way for you to kind of get the gist of everything rather than seeing a blank screen for like 30 straight minutes. If you like what you see and listen to here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification to be part of the notification squad here at Let's Go to College Educational Consultants. I hope you enjoy the video.
Canada just legalized weed. Let's talk about that. Welcome to the first edition of the How Do I Get That Job podcast. This is a series where we highlight leading professionals in new, exciting, and off-the-beaten-path industries to answer the age-old question, how do I get that job? My name is Tyler Cutterback of Let's Go to College Educational Consultants. Today, I am joined by Dr. Lucas McCann, Chief Scientific Officer of CannDelta, Inc. CannDelta is a cannabis and scientific regulatory consulting group based in Toronto, Canada. Lucas reviews the scientific and analytics behind the proposals, plans, and projects of CannDelta's clients, and he is here today to talk about some of the ways that someone can legally build a career in the cannabis community.
That's given me the green light to start to babble on about myself. So I guess the story began in the undergrad. I studied mostly in the biology field until about second or third year. I made the transition over into chemistry, and then found that organic chemistry was a passion. So I did my undergrad over in Vancouver, BC. Found it to be very interesting, and then in that undergrad period, set up an exchange in the northern part of Quebec. Did an exchange at a small university in a very remote part of the province, so it was strictly francophone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then from there, decided to pursue a master's degree in Quebec City at actually a French-speaking university. Did what's called natural product synthesis, so synthesizing compounds that you would find in nature that have some sort of pharmaceutical interest. And then shortly thereafter, moved to Toronto. This is around the same time as the recession began in 2008, which everyone said, was a great time to continue to be a student because a lot of the factories and businesses in chemistry were basically shutting down and downsizing, moving overseas. Then did a PhD in organic chemistry at York University in Toronto. That was about another 5 years of studying. In that time, sort of got my hands wet in everything. I was playing sports, playing music, tried my hand in politics, ran like a provincial election here. Found that wasn't necessarily for me. And then when I left, I'd actually set up a job over at Health Canada working there as a chemist. They had bought a big expensive machine that they didn't really know how to use, and they needed someone to run it and to teach others and to write the standard operating procedures on how to use it. So that was pretty key, and I think in sort of where I ended up now, it was not necessarily a huge formative part about my experience, but it's the same regulating body that issues up the licenses for commercial cultivators and folks that are looking to get into the space. So it's been pretty valuable line item on my resume that I think folks really appreciate. Right. So we do scientific consulting in a lot of the projects that we have, anything from laboratory setup to new technology, compliance, and review. Generally needs that scientific oversight for those projects. So I take all the experience that I gained through university, running a lab, using all the instruments, learning how to maintain and care for the instruments, to even doing some of the industrial scale processing I was doing. I was running you run experiments generally on a very small scale in chemistry just because it's more economical And oftentimes these reagents are very hard to come by, especially if you're, several steps down a synthetic path. You might not have the greatest availability for something because you'll have to make it. But then when something works, you want to try and scale it up on a larger process. So you multiply, by 3 the scale that you're running things at. So it, starts off as like a milligram scale, eventually multiplies until you're doing, kilograms, multi-liter scale, which is, very special equipment.
Yep.
So that was something that was pretty valuable. So I can take that sort of insight and assist those looking to set up labs now in the cannabis space, and make some smart recommendations about things that they should do and things that they shouldn't do as well. Yeah, I think probably what most would want to do would be to identify sort of what aspect of the area or the domain they want to contribute to. For those working in a retail store, I mean, there's not a lot of opportunity there to get sort of behind the scenes. And our retail stores are completely separate from where the product's actually cultivated. So, I mean, any of the peripheral sciences that are tangential to agriculture, I think are very key. So biology, chemistry, biochemistry, plant biology, I think those are very key. So it's probably up to people to identify sort of where they want to participate. And then probably it would be best for them to obtain the highest level of education they can get. Anything to do with food or pharma has great overlap as well. So you don't necessarily have to start in something like cannabis to be able to be successful at it. But the more education you have, the better I think you can do in the industry. Probably the higher you can move up. Otherwise, those with the BSc sort of stay at a certain level, and you will be basically assigned with certain responsibilities. Those are sort of in usually the QA area, and then those with more in-depth experience on how quality systems work, or more of a pharma background, and have put more time into their education, can move up to something like an executive position at a facility. Right. So in the immediate future, I mean, we've got new regulations surrounding the edible market that are going to come out. So we're going to see a lot of people, I think, move around from food and pharma into this new industry. And then I think the market's going to continue to grow for the next 3 to 5 years. After that, it's really hard to predict. I mean, I'm not a business person per se, but predicting what's going to happen after this rush will be difficult. But I mean, we're just going to do our best to stay relevant and make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that if there's a new opportunity that necessarily presents itself, that we incorporate that into our list of services that we offer or provide for folks. I think that's going to be very, very important for sustainability in this area.
Oh, that's tough. Last minute wisdom that I would pass on. Well, I would probably just say that it's okay to know what you know, and it's okay to not know what you want to do. Things always end up working out, and trust your gut, I would say, would be the biggest take home message I could offer.